What's going on, guys? It's Zach here. Bring you guys an advanced football video. This one will be the, as usual, Sunday morning live stream. I'll go over all the latest injury updates and sort of give you guys any additional start-sit questions that you guys might have. So feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments. Should be a really fun week 7. We'll kick off here in about an hour, and it should be a lot of fun. So obviously, a lot of buys, a lot of injuries this week. So there's going to be a lot that's up in the air for you guys. So hopefully, you guys have a lot of questions, and hopefully, I can help get that all sorted out. So nobody's in here just yet, but I'll just start sort of rattling through that. People can obviously watch this back as well if they don't make it on time. And then if anyone hops in with any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So starting us off with the 1 p.m. Eastern games, I'm just going to go through all these injuries here. For the Bills, both Damian Harris and tight end Quentin Morris are out. Doesn't mean a whole lot, although I am actually pretty excited about Latavius Murray this week. I've got him in a couple of DFS lineups. I'm actually starting him in a couple of leagues as well. Really do think Latavius Murray has a good game. Probably gets 10 to 15 touches. I think he's got a good shot of scoring, and Latavius Murray is definitely a good, like a desperate. If you're in a desperate spot and you need to play a running back, I think you could do a lot worse than Latavius Murray this week. Roschon Johnson and Justin Fields are both inactive for the Chicago Bears. That makes D'Onta Foreman again like a really desperate streaming option as well. Obviously, not a fantastic matchup for the Bears this week, but I think that you could certainly do a lot worse. This is going to be a really low-scoring game between the Bears and the Raiders this week. Tyson Bagent, I'm still not sure how to pronounce that. Probably not going to do a lot to help move that offense, but D'Onta Foreman's going to get a lot of work, and that should at least make him flex viable or low-end RB2 viable if you need to. For the Browns, both Deshaun Watson and Kareem Hunt are going to be active. That really is good news for this entire offense. Like they'll probably handily beat the Colts this week. The Colts just I don't expect to be able to score very effectively against this Browns defense. And I think Deshaun Watson, I don't want to play him, but he does make Amari Cooper a more solid wide receiver 2 option. Kareem Hunt being active doesn't really scare me off. I think Jerome Ford's a really solid running back 2 option. He should probably be in your lineups as well. For the Lions, both David Montgomery and Marvin Jones are going to be inactive today. Obviously, that makes Jahmyr Gibbs pretty much must start. He's a really solid running back 2 this week, maybe a fringe running back 1. Should see a lot of volume. Craig Reynolds is going to be active as well, but Reynolds has been banged up. So honestly, Jahmyr Gibbs is the healthiest running back. Dan Campbell came out this week and said that they'd obviously prefer to be healthy or careful with Jahmyr Gibbs, but at this point they need him this week. I bet Jahmyr Gibbs gets 20 touches this week, probably has a really good game, and should definitely be in your starting lineups. Marvin Jones being out doesn't really mean anything for me. It means Jameson Williams may be a little bit more likely to perform this week, but I'm not playing Jameson Williams yet. I want to see him play more snaps, and Josh Reynolds is not someone that I trust right now either. So I wouldn't play any pass catchers in Detroit outside of Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. For the Colts, we've got Alec Pierce, who is going to be active, and then Kylen Granson, who will be inactive this week. I think Josh Downs a really solid, like really low-end streaming option as a flex wide receiver, especially PPR formats if you want to. Obviously, it's not a matchup that we're excited about against the Browns. They are a really elite defense. Super concerning on that front, but Josh Downs has seen a ton of looks. This could be a game where the Browns do get up pretty early against the Colts. You could see a lot of pass attempts from the Colts this week. I have one league where I am playing Josh Downs, he's my second flex option. I've got a lot of buys and injuries this week as well, but he's viable if you need to. You could certainly do a lot worse than Josh Downs this week. For the Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo will be inactive this week, obviously, with that back injury. We're going to see Brian Hoyer start for them, and I think that honestly doesn't do a whole lot for me. I think they're going to try and run the ball against the Chicago Bears. They should be able to win pretty easily without really needing to air it out, but I do think this could be a squeaky wheel game. Davante Adams is obviously a start, but not too much to take away from a start-sit standpoint. Obviously, Jacobs, Myers, and Davante Adams are in your lineups. Before I get to the next game, we got Rolando RG says he's the underdog here and he wants 1 to play. Elijah Mitchell, AJ Dillon, Darrell Henderson, full PPR. Wow, that's tough. Definitely not AJ Dillon. I don't trust AJ Dillon at all with Aaron Jones active. Even without Aaron Jones, he was extremely inefficient last week and needed a touchdown to score at all. Darrell Henderson. I think I would go Darrell Henderson, just because I'm worried that there's a world that exists where Christian McCaffrey plays tomorrow, and then you have like a 2-way split behind Christian McCaffrey. So you have Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason each getting like 5 carries. Could end up being really gross for Elijah Mitchell. But if you happen to have CMC and you're holding out, then I would go with Elijah Mitchell. But if you don't have CMC, I think I would just play Darrell Henderson and pray here. I think Darrell Henderson probably ends up getting the majority of the work or operating as a starter for the Rams this week, and then you'll probably see Royce Freeman get in on pass blocking downs. They'll trust him in pass protection a lot more, and then Zach Evans is just going to get sprinkled in. So honestly, Zach Evans is probably the third best of those guys, but Darrell Henderson, I think he's got a shot to be useful this week, so I'd probably just roll with him and hope he falls in the end zone. Next for the Patriots, we've got Keishon Boutte and Hunter Henry. Boutte or Butte, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's going to be inactive today along with Juju Smith-Schuster. We should see a lot more targets for guys like Kendrick Bourne this week. I'm not excited about Kendrick Bourne by any means, but he has been good 2 of 6 weeks so far this season. So if you really need a desperation stream at the flex position, you could play Kendrick Bourne if you're interested. Hunter Henry, he's active. I wouldn't start him. It's been a really bumpy ride for him so far outside of like the early hot start he had of the season. So I'd probably sit Hunter Henry if I can. And then for the Giants, Daniel Jones, he will be inactive. Tyrod Taylor is going to get the start again. Makes me a little bit more confident starting Wan'Dale Robinson this week. Feel like Wan'Dale Robinson, we saw him be pretty clearly the number 1 target for Tyrod Taylor last week. The Giants are going to have to throw the ball again this week to keep up with the Commanders, given their defense won't really be able to hold them down. And I think that you can really start Wan'Dale Robinson this week. And then obviously, Darren Waller, you're playing him. Saquon Barkley, you're playing him as well. Getting into the afternoon games, we've got Zach Pascal. He's going to be questionable for the Arizona Cardinals. Doesn't really mean anything, but he's effectively the number 3 wide receiver on this offense now, arguably 4 behind Rondale Moore as well. Not excited there. And then Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's going to be out this week, but he will be back probably as soon as next week. So if Kyler Murray's still available on waivers for you, go get him. I think he's going to be a guy that could easily be a top 5 quarterback for the rest of the season. Obviously, he gives guys like James Conner and Marquise Brown a boost the rest of the season as well. So that's exciting. Aaron Jones, he's questionable to play this week, but it sounds like he's going to be playing, and I think that makes him a really high-end running back too. We know how bad this Broncos run defense has been. You've got to get A.J. Dillon out of your lineups with Aaron Jones active, and then you've got to get Aaron Jones in your lineups. For the Chiefs, Justin Watson, he'll be inactive. Obviously, we saw him dislocate his elbow last week. Really bummer of an injury. They did sign Mecole Hardman or trade for Mecole Hardman from the New York Jets this last week. That doesn't really mean a whole lot for me. I think that really you're probably looking at Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco is the only 3 Chiefs that you're confident in starting, and then Rashee Rice would be a decent flex option if you need to. For the Chargers, no real news, but Jalen Guyton was activated off of the IR. They opened up a 3-day window. He's not eligible to play just yet, but keep an eye on him. He could come in and sort of steal snaps, make my hopes and dreams of Quentin Johnston sort of even seem less hopeful. So not excited about that, but probably just keep an eye on that. I think Joshua Palmer still ends up being a low-end wide receiver 3 for you guys this week, and then obviously you're playing Keenan Eckler and Justin Herbert. Before I get to the next game, we've got Sam Eichel saying, should I play Wan'Dale or keep JSN in the flex and hope that DK gets ruled out? I think I would actually go with JSN. The matchup's a lot better for JSN. They play the Cardinals, who are obviously not a very good defense at all. We saw JSN run over 81% of the routes just last week, so he was clearly more involved after the bye. It just didn't really translate to a high-end fantasy performance, and I think sooner or later that breakout is coming for JSN. I'm still a believer in the talent. I think the ceiling's a lot higher for JSN than Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale, you're probably hoping for 8 for 60, sort of like you got last week, and then maybe he scores. So that's probably the ceiling for Wan'Dale. As for with JSN, we don't really know what that ceiling is. You could easily see a 8 for 100 and a touchdown sort of game out of JSN just because we know has that kind of talent. So I think I'd play JSN over there. But if you're like a really strong favorite, then maybe I would just play Wan'Dale and take the points. But if your game's even remotely close or if you're an underdog, I would definitely go JSN there. Once again, one more question. Rolando, start sit Rashee Rice or Curtis Samuel. I think I would go with Rashee Rice here. I think the ceiling is a lot higher for him. I know Curtis has been really good lately, and they are manufacturing touches for him. But generally, historically, against the Giants, Terry McLaurin's the one who eats against the Giants. He's got at least 70 receiving yards in every single game in his career against the New York Giants. I expect this to be a big Terry McLaurin game. The Giants' pass defense against tight ends isn't great either, so I think Logan Thomas could be involved. I also think the Commanders will be up in this game and probably leaning on the run game. So I'm not super excited about Curtis Samuel this week. I think I would just lean with Rashee Rice and hope for that breakout week to happen this week. So moving forward, for the Rams game, Kyren Williams was placed on IR yesterday. Really just a bit of a bummer for anyone that had him. We also got some reports that it sounds like Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson are going to operate as the lead backs in this offense, with Zach Evans being sprinkled in. Myles Gaskin's going to be inactive. That's generally not exciting at all. Obviously, none of us really want to see a lot of Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman this week, but that's probably what we're going to get. I think that, honestly, Darrell Henderson probably operates as the lead back in this offense, and then Royce Freeman ends up being the third down back, and then we just see some Zach Evans getting sprinkled in. It makes Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman both like really desperation plays at the running back position, and I don't even think you can consider starting Zach Evans right now. Speaking of Royce Freeman, Joel has just commented, hey, should I play Royce Freeman or Keaton Mitchell? That's a really tough spot to be in. I would definitely go Royce Freeman over Keaton Mitchell, though. Keaton Mitchell, it's a really tough matchup against the Detroit Lions. We haven't really seen anybody from this Ravens backfield do anything explosive at all. And I know Keaton Mitchell's got a shot, but I want to see him perform at a high level before I trust him against a defense like the Lions. So I'd go Royce Freeman here and just pray for like 3 or 4 catches, and maybe he falls in the end zone. Okay, so next game, we've got Deontay Johnson. He was activated off of IR. He should be active this week. I think you're playing him. He's a solid wide receiver 3. Bumps George Pickens down to a wide receiver 3 tier as well. We saw Pat Freiermuth injure his hamstring again on Thursday, so should be some still nice consolidation of targets here. I think you can play both pass catchers there, then you could ignore the running backs pretty much in Pittsburgh. Or Amari DeMercado. I think I'd still stick with Royce Freeman. DeMercado just wasn't involved enough last week. I don't really trust him. So unless like Keontae Ingram's on waivers for you or something, you could maybe go there. But I think Royce Freeman, out of the options you've listed, is probably your best bet here so far. Next, we've got the Seahawks game. We got DK Metcalf currently listed as questionable. We had a question earlier asked if we should wait till he's ruled out. Generally, for the Seahawks, when a player is limited, which he was on Friday, they do end up playing on Sunday. So I do expect DK to play in this game, but he could be limited. He's obviously been banged up sort of all season. He's been dealing with that rib injury. Just sort of hasn't looked exactly like himself just yet. So I still think you're playing DK if he plays. You're obviously playing Tyler Lockett. And then I think, like I said, I think this makes JSN a little bit more of an intriguing option. I've got JSN in a DFS lineup, so I'm playing that variance a little bit with the JSN this week. I think he could be a good play this week. So, then on top of that, Zach Charbonnet, he's questionable. It sounds like Zach Charbonnet is just not going to play in this game, and that's actually really relevant. I think that makes Kenneth Walker like the running back 1 in fantasy this week. If you're playing DFS, get Kenneth Walker in your lineup. He's going to be a smash play this week. I bet he goes for like 150 and 2. So get Ken Walker in your lineups this week. It's going to be awesome for him this week. Then last, we got the Sunday night game. Jeff Wilson, he was activated off IR. He's going to play this week, so we're going to get to see Jeff Wilson. I'm not super excited about it. I think he ends up being, like, again, one of those, like a lot of the running backs we're talking about right now, one of those, like, desperation running back 2s, a guy that you can play if you need to, but obviously we're not excited about it. Tough matchup against the Eagles. Not something I'm excited about, but he should operate as a number 2 in this offense. So you can play Jeff Wilson if you really need to. And then Julio Jones, elevated from the practice squad. He's going to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not playing him, obviously, but it should be exciting to at least see him on the field. He's obviously going to be, at best, the wide receiver 3 here, and not super exciting. Joel, you said you have both Freeman and Jeff Wilson. If you're starting both of them, that's tough. I hope you pull it out. If you have to pick between the two, then I would go with Jeff Wilson, but I don't love it. But maybe you can still pull off an upset. I know a lot of us are in some really brutal spots. I've got a league where I'm playing Latavius Murray and Ramondre Stevenson as my 2 running backs, so not great either there. So totally understand where you're coming from. We've got some tough injuries going around this week. Yeah, so that should be it. And then obviously we've got the Monday night game tomorrow. Official injury reports and stuff aren't out yet, but it sounds like Christian McCaffrey's trending towards playing. Deebo Samuel came out that he's got more of a serious shoulder injury. He's going to miss this weekend, probably next week. So I think that obviously CFC, you're playing him if he plays, and then you are probably just not playing any other 49er running backs. So if you have to, Elijah Mitchell will be my preference. If for whatever reason we end up getting the late scratch for CMC, then you can play both running backs. Elijah Mitchell is still my preference over Jordan Mason, but I think they could both see their way to 10 or 15 touches if CMC ends up missing this game. So hopefully he plays, though. It's just a lot more fun to watch the Niners on primetime if we're going to get some Christian McCaffrey. So cool. So yeah, that's it for the sort of news and notes for week 5 or week 7. So unless you guys have any additional questions, we got one more question. Thoughts on Denver's backfield? I have McLaughlin. Just wondering if he's worth getting into lineups. So I think he's sort of in that tier of a lot of the guys we've been talking about so far, of the guys that we've mentioned here, of all the running backs mentioned: Elijah Mitchell, A.J. Dillon, Darrell Henderson, Royce Freeman, Keaton Mitchell, DeMercado, Jeff Wilson. I think I prefer McLaughlin to all of them. So that's sort of the tier he's in. He's just ahead of those guys for me. I think he's got a lot more upside. He's just got more juice than a lot of the guys we saw. We know this Packers run defense isn't fantastic. And I think this Denver backfield is pretty much shifting towards being a 2-headed backfield with Javonte and McLaughlin. McLaughlin's clearly the most explosive player they have on that backfield. So I think we're just going to see P. Ryan get phased out. And McLaughlin's a guy that you should definitely hold on to. And if you're in one of those desperate spots, you could play him as a low-end running back too, and hope he pops one. But I'm not something I'm excited about, but you could certainly do a lot worse than him this week if you need to. Cool. So yeah, that's all the injury updates. really appreciate you guys stopping by. It's really fun just doing all this. Obviously, we've got 45 minutes before the games kick off, so hopefully you guys get all your lineups set. Hopefully everything goes well for you guys this week, and hopefully we can get some wins for you guys. So I think that'll be it. So thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you guys wish you guys some luck this week, and then I'll catch you guys on Tuesday morning. You guys will get the waiver video that comes out. So go get some wins this week, and I'll catch you guys next time. Talk to you guys later.